Good morning from Panhandle Outdoors, America's only daily outdoor TV show. Your source for fishing, hunting, and information for folks who enjoy the great outdoors. Now sit back, relax. It's Panhandle Outdoors.
Good morning, folks. Welcome to Panhandle Outdoors. I'm Winston Chester. Glad you're here this morning on a Monday morning, May the 13th, 2024. We've got all kind of cool stuff to do today. Have a special guest in the studio. You're probably going to recognize him, but let's go ahead and get our weather brought to us by Gulf Coast Air Conditioning. Drew Potter, hard-working crew, taking care of our everyday comfort needs. High today 79, low down to 72. Not much movement there. Water temperature still hanging in there around 82 degrees. It's really, I just keep looking back on it. I'm still fascinated, like 2 weeks ago, and boom, just like that. And it's still leveled out a little bit now for the past 3 or 4 days. It's been around 82. And okay, our moon phase brought to us by Panama City Coca-Cola. Good, strong folks down there. And we're looking at the moon phase. We hit the first quarter tomorrow night. The full moon will be the 23rd of this month, the 23rd. And we're looking at, we're always talking about a May full moon, and it's about right on us. So we're going to really talk about it this week, especially as we're getting toward that full moon. Our tide chart brought to us by Kent Forest Lawn. Today's the 13th. Good strong tides through the week and a little bit of neap tide for the weekend. In fact, a lot of neap tide for the weekend, but this past weekend we had strong tides, and it's neat that this order keeps changing around. Okay, let's go ahead and take a break and we'll be right back. Welcome back. Look who we have with us this morning.
Wandered in off the road.
Listen,
I'd do anything for a free breakfast.
Well, you'll sure get one. We have absolutely nothing planned for today. And I told Bill, I said, every now and then it's just good to just come down here and do a show. We don't have anything planned because usually I've got it all laid out. So we talked about, this Monday morning is a good week to go fishing and everything. But you had a good fishing trip recently. You and Dalton?
Had several days of good fishing.
Let's go back. Well, remember last time he was on the show, he was talking about he couldn't wait. He was headed to North Carolina for his annual fly fishing trip up there to the old home place. And what happened?
Well, we got into like Tuesday when we had to make the decision, but there was, we usually leave Thursday morning like 3 o'clock and get there in time to fish Thursday afternoon, camp, and set the camp up. But we had an 85% chance of rain all weekend, including Thursday, where, it's been rained on many times camping, but when you have that much rain and that creek swells and it gets very cloudy, it gets dangerous. There's a lot of pools you could get in trouble in. So we canceled that trip, and there were just 4 of us this year. It was my son Dalton and my brother-in-law Cliff and his son-in-law, who I guess is my nephew. But they decided to come down here. So we'd already taken it, everybody had already taken off, and they got down here Thursday afternoon. So Dalton and I got to fish together Thursday morning. And then Thursday afternoon, my good buddy Jim Lewis let me borrow his boat. So Dalton took my flats boat, and I took Jim's boat, and Dalton took Taylor. Mm-hmm. And then I took my brother-in-law Cliff. So we split up. And, they were working on us pretty good.
Okay, so y'all did it turn into like a little contest there? We all sort of,
Winston, it's always a contest. Usually, it's always a competition, and that's it doesn't matter what we're doing. Yeah. We always seem to turn it into a friendly competition. Yeah, but they got a big lead on us because he was in my flats boat, and I was basically in Jim's bay boat, but which doesn't draw that much water, but he was able to get places. That's what I'm claiming, is he was able to get places, and he went right where I told him to go. So I'm gonna preface that.
You get credit for the catches.
I'm gonna preface that. But we fished, and I was getting about worn out. We fished Thursday morning, Thursday afternoon, Friday morning, Friday afternoon, Saturday morning, and then we cooked Saturday night. Dalton didn't get to fish Friday afternoon. He had a tournament up in Auburn, Alabama. So they left Friday night for that, and he played in that Saturday.
Yeah.
And we had We had a ball. We had
Well, that's a pretty good substitute for the fly fishing trip. I know Cliff, he loves fishing out here, don't he?
He loves it. He absolutely loves it. He doesn't get to come down here as much as he'd like. Obviously, he's a pilot for UPS, and he lives just north of Athens, but he goes to Anchorage, Alaska to get his plane, and all Cliff does is fly overseas. So he goes straight across the pond for 10 days and everywhere, Germany and Saudi Arabia and Thailand and everywhere else over there.
Well, you got a few pictures to prove that y'all did catch the fish. So let's look at some of your pictures.
We were really blessed with some good weather.
Yes.
Early and late, we didn't have a lot of wind, and we had favorable tides where we could fish rising and falling tides. So we really had favorable conditions. So
okay.
But anyway. This was Thursday morning.
There you go.
One that I picked off when Dalton and I just got to go together.
Y'all sort of had a scouting trip. Y'all went out and scouted?
Yeah, I had an idea of where I wanted to go based on the conditions, and it's one of those things where sometimes you get it right, and we found them. And then that's one of them that Dalton picked up, but I don't have a bunch of pictures from that morning, but we caught several fish. But now during this whole trip, I was really excited about catching a lot of rat reds, and maybe a little bit bigger than rat reds.
Yeah.
They were, I don't know how many we caught, 15, 20, but it's just encouraging to see, that there's that many out there, and healthy, very healthy.
Bill, I hear that same thing about the guys that are floundering now. I've heard this from 3 different sources now, this early in this floundering season, about how many young flounder they're seeing, small flounder about 10 to 11 inches long.
Yeah.
Now, that's such a good sign.
Yeah, that is.
Hopefully.
Anyway, this was when Dalton had my boat with Taylor, and they picked up 3 or 4 trout that were in the 18, 19 inch range.
Yeah.
And then later on with me, Taylor caught a monster. But that was a pretty one that Dalton picked up that morning. And we were very fortunate that early and late we got to fish topwater.
Yeah.
And they were just all over.
They were hitting top water.
They were hitting top water good, and then I'm going to show you what I was using later on in the day when it got too light for that.
Yeah. Okay. So, all right. So we're going to take a break. Come right back with Bill. Okay, welcome back. Talking about a really fine fishing weekend. Bill had and
we did.
Sharon. So here we go.
This is just someone with Dalton guide. Now that's Taylor.
Okay.
With a lot of spots on these fish. Dalton caught one that had about 12 spots on it.
Wow, that was in a spot tournament.
But now there's a good one that Taylor picked up. Of course, that beautiful boat that they're using is My Flats boat.
That's a great picture right there.
Yeah, that is beautiful, that sun behind it. Now that is top water, and you've seen it many, many times. That's pretty much my go-to. That trout pattern is just a killer, and that's what Dalton was using as well. That's a separate one that he picked up, really nice one. And I mean, this is just the kind of weekend we had. You got a solid trout there. That also is a solid trout. Now Taylor is known for every time he comes down here catching just huge trout. He's just got that, I don't know what it is about him. But,
cool.
And it's just, again, those reds, those rats are that size, and they were strong. And there's another nice one that Taylor picked up. But that's one of the spots that had several spots that Dalton picked up. And that's my brother-in-law, Cliff. That's a really nice redfish there. And Taylor again with another rat. And you can tell we're fishing very shallow. Another nice red that Cliff picked up fishing with me. And then more of those that size right there. And that's Jim's boat, you know, my buddy who, thank goodness, let us borrow that so we could split up. But these are all different fish, guys. I mean, you know, they are, and I'll tell you, so now there's the last afternoon, Taylor picked that up, and that was an absolute stud. That was a good fish. And again, Cliff went full do-rag on me there, and we're back in my boat. And again, you could tell we were just catching a ton of fish. We were catching some quality fish and a lot of rats, and just having an absolute ball.
Yeah.
And out of respect for me, and I didn't really care, but I fully anticipated that, you know, Cliff or Taylor would keep a redfish, and you know, that's fine. But they did not. They didn't want to keep any. They didn't even keep any trout. So Saturday night, I cooked catfish from that last trip Bill and I did. I'd taken home a whole bag and frozen them with those little, you know, chunks of catfish. So we had catfish and our special hush puppies. And
I know that was good.
We had a ball. I'm gonna tell you that I've always used Sweet Betsy, you know, which you can buy at Howell's and other places. But those candied jalapenos that we've been talking about so often, and Bill did this maybe a couple of years ago. He chopped them up real fine and put them in the hush puppy batter. Folks, there's that sweet with that little sweet heat in there. There's nothing better than that.
Oh.
They are fantastic.
Those jalapeno peppers just add so much. I was up at a Bozeman baseball game last week, and Tony Morrell, he makes a big old pan of deer sausage. He cooks it, and he passes them out free.
Yeah.
And he has some jalapeno. I always get a couple of them when he comes by. Thank you, Tony, for doing that. But I had one of jalapeno sausages, and it was really good. It adds a lot to it.
And then Donna made her famous cheese grits. I mean, she made them like a casserole, a different recipe. I don't like her to mess with recipes because she's a great cook, but I get used to things. But I have to admit, that turned out pretty good.
Well, I'll tell you, I know Cliff and Taylor, those fish were bigger than those trout that they would have caught up there in the stream for the most part. So I know they had a
you
good
know,
time.
and as of late, with things settling down and Dalton's work after those promotions that he got, we're able to fish a little more, you know, kind of catch up, you know, where we used to. Because, you know, I mean, we used to fish together a lot. Of course, life and work and everything gets in the way. But so I really enjoy when I get to fish with both my boys. And Dalton's here, of course, but he was using that custom rod that I had made, that Mr. Haston made for us.
Yep.
And it was beautiful. I mean, I picked out the blank, and then he just did a beautiful job on that, and it performed just fantastic. James, he's been doing that. You know, he worked at Berg Pipe, but he's always, years ago, he started building and repairing rods, and so I got him to do that for Dalton, and it was just beautiful rod.
Good deal. I know that all comes together for just a wonderful fishing weekend. I'm glad you got to share that with us.
We had the weather. God smiled on us with the weather. We didn't have 30-mile-an-hour winds. And we had good tides. So
one in a few days. This month.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. I mean, it's not like being in. And I really missed going to the mountains, so we're going to try to get another trip up here soon before it gets out.
Let me know. I'll try to squeeze in some time with you. So I know.
Well, I tell you every time.
I know
it's been a while.
It's been a while since I could go, but it's a lot of fun. I want to show. I got a couple of pictures I want to show this segment. Before you're talking about good things, doing good things, and good things happening. We had senior recognition at Mosley last week, and I started a good while back giving outdoor education scholarships.
Oh yeah.
And I was going to show you this year's recipients. I just wanted to share this with you. That's Ava Wilkes, and the winner there. She's been on the show as one of the students of the month, and also Colby DeBoat. And we gave each one of them. And on the right is Coach Taylor Stanford, who one of my former students who teaches outdoor ed now. So I'm very proud of this group. And if you notice that up at the top, I named it after my brother, the Wayne Chester Outdoor Ed Scholarship in his honor. So congratulations to those two students. And this marked what was so cool about this year. This was the 30th year that we've given outdoor ed scholarships over the years. But what was funny, the first couple of years, well, for a good while, the way we raised the money in the gym on Fridays, we had Friday free days, so all the kids, we had like 5 or 6 classes or to just play as long as they're moving around and playing. But we'd sell popcorn on Fridays, little bags of popcorn, and we'd save all the money we made at the end of the year and give outdoor scholarships. I think we probably made $300 to $400 for the whole year.
Well, that's cool. That's very cool.
That's how we started. It's a lot better now. We're giving bigger scholarships, but it had the roots
what
of it.
What a blessing that program has been, and for somebody, I can't imagine what it's like to originate and start a program, get it accepted into the school system, and it's being spread throughout the state now. You've gone and spoken. So I mean, the lives that you've touched and introduced to outdoors that normally would not have been introduced to.
Well, we're talking about blessings, and it's been one of the biggest, a big blessing in my life is to be able to do this, and the young people we've worked with. I'm just so thankful I can still. I'm not retired from teaching. Let me still come up there and give scholarships and talk to the classes.
Well, they named everything after you at Mosley.
They did not. No, I didn't. Let's take a quick break and be right back. Well, we're going to show you some tackle tips right here, and we'll get right back. Okay. Okay, welcome back. Here with my co-host, Bill Allen. Been a good friend of mine for so long, and I invited him to come on this morning. He don't ever hesitate to come on because he always has so much good stuff to talk about. Before we get back to the field, let's look at our fishing game time today, brought to us by the good folks down in Port St. Joe. And there are a lot of good folks down in Port St. Joe because we saw something the other night at a cookout. But Blue Water Outriggers, our time today, 4:29 to 6:29 this morning, this evening, 4:55 to 6:55. So we're talking about different tackle tips and just simple techniques. It's not complicated at times, and yet sometimes people overthink what they're going to try to do and get all stressed out. It's not about that. It's about just being able to go out there and what's working, keep with it. If it ain't working, go to something else. So tell us what you did.
Well, our original plan when we got to the area that I went to, the wind, of course, the weather forecast was supposed to be out of the west. So Dalton and I were trying to set up a drift, and for a few minutes it was okay, and then it completely switched around the other way. And one tip is to stay off the trolling motor as much as possible. If you can get somewhere and set up a drift, just use the trolling motor to adjust it because it's vibration in the water, and it's, try to stay off of it as much as possible. But I get a lot of questions when, we see people everywhere, come up and talk about the show. I shouldn't be astounded, but at how many people watch it, how many different people, and they don't hesitate to come up and say hello, and which is always appreciated, because you figure if they say hello, they liked what you were doing. They just ignore you. They didn't. So I get asked a lot about the Z-Man, because I fish that a ton. But of course, we fish topwater early. I'm going to do that every chance I get when the weather's right. And but the rig that I use for that is, I use these 13 fishing products because I absolutely love them. So I use this 7'2" Omen rod, and that's a 3,000 size Creed reel, one of those skeleton type reels. Now this is not their most expensive reel, but in my opinion it is by far the best. And you feel that this is the lightest thing, this composite, and the whole thing doesn't weigh anything, but it's 7'2", and it's what they call medium power, but it has a fast tip. So if you cast this correctly, it'll throw a soft bait for 100 miles. And that's all I ever have on this rod, because, I carry a minimum of 3, most of the time 4 rods. But these Texas-eyed jig heads, you don't have to tie a loop knot on this because it moves. And these things are so buoyant, these Z-Man, that when it's in the water, it's going to stand up like that. And I like to hop them.
Yeah.
Now, Dalton will put a Z-Man swim bait on this size or a size smaller, depending where he's at, and swim it, and the action is just fantastic. But I like to throw it into an area and pop it and that kind of thing, and leave it sitting. It's like this, and they just can't stand it. They'll pick it up like that, but they have the slots in them, as a lot of baits do, and I'll rig it where the hook's just sitting in the slot. It's completely weedless that way. Now, you can do it where it's sitting on the top like the old style, but Mark Cowart told me about this, and I thought he was crazy, but or I didn't necessarily believe him. I should say that. Yeah. But this Procure, and this is a shrimp scent. They've got it in menhaden and other things. And even though these are salt impregnated or they've got some kind of scent to them, I just run a bead of this inside where the hook is in that deep cavity. And it will last, you know, forever. But I am absolutely convinced that this Procure on plastic baits is going to increase the bite. Because one, this feels like a bait fish. You know, they don't. It feels like a bait fish, and if it tastes like that, smells like that, I just love it. I use it, you know, constantly. And the thing about Z-Man, I've probably caught 10 pretty nice redfish on this.
Good.
And it looks just like it did when I started. So you buy a pack of 5 of these, and you could maybe fish a whole season if you don't get broken off. But it'll save you a lot of money. But if you have this kind of rig where you can, you know, you can really get it out there, and it's, as we've always said, the further from the boat, the better. But with a rod like this, just let it do the work. I never lose sight of the reel. I have it right in front of me, load it up, and let it fly like that, and just let the rod do the work. This, you know, throwing and you know, you can't get anywhere like that.
Yeah.
And if you'll point towards where you're throwing and not let that rod go all the way down, because that's just dragging that line that way and you're cutting your distance.
Some good points right there.
Tip of the day to fishing this, yes.
Good point.
I wouldn't leave home without this.
You were, but at first you on top water. And what were some top water plugs you like to use?
Well, that's that, you know, that skitter walk that looks like a trout. Michael Cowart makes fun of me because every time he sees one of my top water rods, that's what's on there.
Yeah, I love skitter walk too.
But you know, you put a loop knot on that, because that's going to increase the action tremendously. Yeah. Yeah, that's a go-to. But also those bone-colored Top Dog Juniors and those kind of things. Those have always been very effective. Have that red splash to them. Yeah. Dalton fished a lot of those, and I've got several of those. But they're going to have to prove to me that they're not going to hit that skitter walk anymore.
Well, you've had look. We didn't have anything to talk about. The show's over with.
Well, I don't think we've ever had any trouble talking for 30 minutes.
I know it. So I always appreciate it. We'll go get some
pleasure.
All right, folks. Y'all do something good for someone today. Enjoy the great outdoors. Take care of it, and God bless.
Thanks for watching America's only daily outdoor TV show, Panhandle Outdoors with Winston Chester, featuring hunting, fishing, and other activities and information to help you enjoy the great outdoors. Join us next time for Panhandle Outdoors.